Palermo is a complicated city. There is absolutely no denying it. On the one hand, you've got a place that is extremely beautiful, and yet on the other, it is riddled with problems. And so it can be difficult sometimes for me on this channel to share with you the reality of life here, because unfortunately, as I've spoken about in many other videos, Italy is romanticised to the point where I actually think it is to its detriment. Because Italy is not a perfect country. There is not one single part of Italy that is 100% perfect. And yet people flock here every single year with these unrealistically high expectations, only to leave disappointed in many cases because they haven't done their research beforehand and they don't really understand what this country is like. And so I do my best on this channel to always share both sides of the story, if you like. I like to share the beauty and the reality in the hope that it can better prepare you whether you plan to visit or move to Italy. So last year I did a video, What No One Tells You About Palermo, and I was brutally honest in that video to the point where I think that I uncovered a lot of the myths that people often have about this city and really told it to you how it is, about what you can expect. And for the most part, it was really appreciated. I think people who genuinely want to get to know a country appreciate it when somebody isn't sugarcoating everything to the point of perfection. But there was a comment that was left on that video recently which left me feeling pretty guilty. And it went along the lines of, thank you so much for this advice. I think I'm going to give this city a miss. And when I read that comment, I was like, damn, that wasn't my intention with this video. And I actually started to question myself and questioned the fact that, you know, could I actually be too authentic about South Italy? And I explore this topic a little bit more in a recent podcast episode, which I'll link up here if you fancy having a little bit of a listen. But I really did have this kind of moment where I was like, am I too authentic sometimes? But I've kind of come to the conclusion that I'm not. And I'm recording this video today to kind of reassure those of you who may have seen my content about Palermo and are second guessing your decision or are questioning whether or not you have made the right choice. And the reason why I want to first of all put your mind at rest is the fact that a lot of the advice that I share with you about Palermo is common sense advice. Things like watch your belongings, things like do research about what part of the city you're going to, and, you know, be aware of yourself and your surroundings at all times. This is common sense advice that I would give to you whether you were visiting Rome, Naples, Milan. It doesn't matter. It's the same sort of advice that I would give to you wherever you may want to visit in Italy. But when I start to tell you, for example, the make of car not to hire, or for example, the fact you're going to come across rubbish strewn all over the roads, those are things that I think are really important for you to know. And the reason they are so important is because so many tourists come here and get stung by the fact that they choose a car like a Fiat, which is the brand, or one of the brands that I talk about, which is the car of choice for many car thieves, just because there is a real market for the parts and for the cars itself. Now, I do think in recent months it has died down a bit here in Palermo. There was a moment where it was like in the news every day there was another Fiat being stolen, but I do think it's kind of calmed down a bit. The police have arrested a few significant people that were behind this kind of operation, but still, it's not the best car of choice to hire here. And it's not just for Palermo. People in Salerno had their Fiats damaged and stolen. So, you know, just to tell you. But secondly, with the rubbish as well, so many people I see on TripAdvisor or in different forums on Facebook talking about the fact that they come to Palermo and they are so surprised by how dirty this city is. Now, don't get me wrong, I do think there are parts of Palermo that are better than others, predominantly the parts where you as a tourist are probably going to go. But if you decide to venture out into some of the side roads or into the local neighbourhoods, that is when you're going to get a flavour of what everyday life is really like here, and it's not as clean a city as you may have hoped. And you know, people are genuinely disgusted and surprised by this information. I think for me, it's become the norm because there's pretty much a news report every single day in our local newspaper, Palermo Today, about the state of the rubbish situation here. So it doesn't come as a surprise to me anymore, even though I feel that that's a bit of a shame because it should still shock me in the same way. But yeah, for me, it's like normality. But essentially, I know that if I were visiting a place and I wasn't prepared for that, I probably wouldn't want to go back. And so this is why I do these kinds of videos. I prepare you for what you may expect to see here so that you don't come here and become disappointed, disillusioned, and vow never to return. And so I do believe that it's important for me to share with you the reality of life here, but not to tell you not to come. Palermo is an amazing city, and honestly, if you don't come and visit it, you're missing out on something. It doesn't feel like it's part of Italy. Like, I can honestly say this, I haven't explored all of Italy, but I've been to a few different cities, and I can honestly say Palermo feels like it's completely separate. I understand why there is graffiti that is often dotted around Palermo that says Sicily is not part of Italy, because this island in general does feel different to the rest of Italy, but especially Palermo. It's crazy, it's wild, it's chaotic, it's completely nuts at times, but it's an energy and vibrancy that you have to experience. And I think, you know, if you do your homework, if you know the places to avoid, if you are not stupid with your possessions, if you take care, you are going to be just fine. Like, thousands upon thousands of people come to Palermo every single year to experience this city. And yes, I don't think you should come in August, and if you want to know why, watch this video up here. But apart from the month of August, and maybe even July as well, I really do think you have an incredible time here in Palermo. So I want to do this just to say, don't let somebody's authenticity deter you from something that you want to do. Like, at the end of the day, first and foremost, everybody's experience will be different. I see the rubbish every day. I see some of the things that I've been telling you about in these videos, but maybe you'll be lucky and you won't, you know? What I say is not 100% a given that you are going to experience when you are here, but forewarned is forearmed, as they say, right? Secondly, I want you to remember that no place on earth is perfect, not even the city or country that you are from. And so, you know, if you are going on holiday, it's pretty darn unrealistic to expect that a city or country is going to be like the height of perfectionism, because it doesn't exist. Like, there are problems and troubles in all different parts of Italy. And so, you know, I really do think that you have to accept that this country isn't perfect, and you have to shake off the romantic image that unfortunately is attached to this particular part of the world and take it for what it is. And I also think as well that when you see a city in its raw and rugged state, you feel Italy in a very different way. Like, we want to hold on to the romantic images of Italy that we see portrayed in the Amalfi and, you know, along the Cilento coast and all those different areas of Italy. We want to hold on to that romantic image because that's what we think of. That's what comes to mind immediately when we think of the Mediterranean and Italy. But the reality is there is something a bit more here in Italy. There's substance, there's depth. And you discover that by visiting the raw and rugged cities and towns that you find here. You don't discover that by staying in the tourist bubble. And so this video is for those of you that may have been a little bit undecided now about whether or not to visit Palermo. Visit Palermo. Take my words as guidance so that you come here with your eyes wide open. You are prepared so that you end up having a much better experience. My authenticity is here to help you. I do not want to tell you not to come to Palermo, but I do want to tell you to come here and be realistic. Don't expect more, and then you could end up being pleasantly surprised. But also expect to have probably one of the most authentic experiences you could ever have. And I wonder why sometimes I'm drawn to the south of Italy, and I actually think it is for this, because there is some kind of ruggedness here that is so real and raw that I connect to that, and you've got to come and experience it too. So if you watch my videos and you're unsure, I hope that you'll reconsider, because Palermo really is a gem that I don't think you should miss out on. I'll see you in the next video.